Hi there, it's Jeff from Picture Time, and I'm here again with my father-in-law, Tim. Say hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
You guys love that. We're back with another episode for our restoring a 31 Model A Woody wagon project.
Yes.
And many of you have been asking about like when the next video is coming, but there's been a lot of happening behind the scenes, hasn't there?
There has, yeah. We've been doing a lot of things. Mainly been working on getting the chassis all set up, ready to paint and rebuild parts. And like I spent a lot of time getting the all the parts. I think we got about 95% of all the chassis parts cleaned up, painted, and ready to go. The front end is all redone and all back together again. We put in new kingpins, which is a kind of a job that I hadn't done before, but an interesting project. I was able to drive out the old bushings and put in the new ones, and then put in new kingpins and got everything all set up with that. So it's ready. That's ready to be installed very soon.
So lots of work has been happening on the chassis parts, front and rear ends and stuff like that. Wheels, I think you powder coated some of the rims.
Right. Wheels are powder coated, and we're going to get the rims on hopefully in the next week.
So we're going to do another video that will show you more detail with all those parts and how they look after they've been cleaned up and restored. But today we got some good news.
Hey, we're going to go pick up the engine.
Yeah, so Dave Gerald, if you guys watched a few episodes ago, the engine rebuild, we dropped off the engine. There was snow on the ground when we dropped it off last.
Actually it was, yeah.
And Dave gave us a call, said the engine's ready, it's on the stand on the dyno.
Right.
And we're gonna go back down to Jordan, Minnesota today and take a look at the engine, maybe hear it run.
Yes, we will hear it run, and he'll actually put a dyno, put a load on it so we can actually see what that looks like. And he said it's actually producing more horsepower than what most engines that he has done is doing. So that's great.
So you brought the trailer along,
right,
and we're gonna go back down to Jordan. We'll pick up the motor, and I'll probably put a mic on Dave and have us tell us a little bit about what he's done.
I think he'd be happy to, yeah.
All right, come along, we're going down to Jordan. Let's go pick up an engine.
We are heading to Jordan to Dave Gerald's place to pick up this engine. Great day, pretty excited. Dave does a good job with this. He took a couple of engines in on trade, and he was able to give me credit for one of the blocks and a couple of the crank shafts and one of the cams. So that really worked out well for him to do that. And I did upgrade a couple things as well with the clutch and the flywheel, which is a wise thing to do. So very fair. He gave me a quote early on, and it actually worked out to be less than that just because he was able to credit me some of the parts, you know, like this, but also I had brought some of my stock down that I had extra. And yeah, just a very, very fair price, and just good to work with. He kept me updated regularly on what the progress was on the car, and hopefully in the next month or so we can get everything mounted up, and it'll be a rolling chassis at that point. So I'm happy with that. We are here.
It looks a little nicer than when we dropped it off.
You know, it looks a lot better. Yeah, that's great.
That is it.
So take us through, David. What do we do here?
Well, when
You showed us quite a bit when we first started, but now it's on this dyno rig, right?
Right, when we start these engines up, we like to put them under load to work them a bit, break them in under a load. Does a couple things. It immediately points out if something isn't correct, and it also proves that there's no issues with it as far as oil leaks. So I can feel real comfortable letting an engine go out and knowing that it's not going to come back to an oil leak or some other noise.
And anything you found or any unique things about this one that you noticed when we were going through it?
No, only that I was having trouble. Having trouble getting adequate horsepower out of it, and I discovered that my point gap on my bench distributor had closed up a little bit. So once I adjusted that back up, we were in good shape. And we did get. I had one pull where it produced 40 horsepower. Exactly 40 horsepower, and it's very typical for a Model A engine that you get between 37 and 39 horsepower with a standard head.
Can you show me what's this cart that we have? This looks like quite the contraption here.
It's three components: a stand with just the engine on it. We have the cooling system and the power system and the fuel. The two. Divide it by 5250, and that's your horsepower.
So actually, what is horsepower actually? I mean, it's a unit of measurement, obviously, but the first time that horsepower was used, related to horses and farming and stuff, or how did they come up with that? You know?
You know, I don't know. All I know is that if a horse had to produce 1 horsepower of power, it'd be awful tired at the end of the day if it had to put that amount of output. So when we're running under load, the water break develops a lot of heat, so you have to constantly add cold water to the pump. Okay, I just turned the dyno pump on, and that's circulating water through here. We'll turn on the fuel. Let me back up and say that the reason I built this way is I did not want to have a fan running. I didn't want to have a generator or an alternator on it. I wanted no other noise competing with the engine. I wanted just to hear the engine itself. So this component here has the pumps that are necessary to circulate the water and to cool the water. And again, it also harnesses or holds the ignition source, the batteries for starting and for running. This is set up where you can set it up with a fuel pump for later carburetors, and you can also hook up electronic ignition with 12 volt. It's set up for that too, but it's also set up for the standard 6 volt. And this is a standard point distributor, standard Model A carb, standard Model A manifold, basically a stock setup. So you flip the coolant switches on. This is the pump, circulates the water through the engine, and then this activates the fan on the radiator for cooling the water when it gets up to temperature. And then we'll just check that we have flow there. We're good, and we should be set. It's already slightly loaded by the dyno. It'll take a little while to warm up. It's running a little lean right now for the temperature. You can see it's already loading. About 1,500 RPM, and we're putting out about between 40 and 45 foot-pounds of torque. We're just going to load it a little bit so it warms up. We don't want to run it loaded real heavy until the engine is warm, comes up to temperature. Actually, we have I have a 180-degree thermostat in the top hose, so it actually warms up quite quick. Close. This is the throttle, and then I can adjust the water flow here. I can put more water to it, more load. I'll do that. I'm going to lighten it now. You'll hear the RPM going up, and then I'm going to load it up heavier. By letting more water into it, it works it harder. Okay, we're putting out about 120 pounds of torque, and it won't rise above that. itself up on temperature or equalize itself out, and then we'll do a full pull. You can see we have some blow by with the fresh rains. You see a little bit of oil vapor coming out of the breather.
Sure. Yeah.
That'll work it'll work its way in after about 500,000 miles. Looks pretty good. There we had 2,100 for a little bit there. Twice already.
Will you do it again now, or
Yeah, I'll check it now after we.
And then after 500 miles, I should do it again, or?
I'd probably check it at about 100 miles. Just check it, and then 500 again, and then once every spring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And 55 is the number?
55. Yeah. Okay, I think we're seeing what you need to see.
Great. Yeah. Right here. Tells you what you're doing for oil pressure, but your idling, it doesn't give you much, but normally you're going to be operating at 5 to 8.
When you're starting cold, it'll register up to 8, 10, maybe 10.
Mine was 10, yeah.
Okay, and then usually once it's warmed up, boy, if you're getting 2 psi, that's about all it's going to show.
I've seen,
Yeah. I'm going to turn the fuel off, and we'll run the carburetor dry. Also going to turn the water off.
So I've got a couple questions. So
Sure.
I've got a transmission that came with the car. The top is off, the tower, and I'm going to be putting in a new chrome handle, shifter handle.
Sure.
How do you check to see if a transmission is good? Just by trying it, or do you just have a way to check it while I still have it apart?
If you're this far along, you may want to take it apart and just manually spin the bearings, pull the 2 shafts out of it.
Okay.
If they spin over nicely and they're quiet, it's probably okay.
Okay.
But if they're making any kind of a rattling noise or metallic clinking or anything, then you'd want to replace those bearings.
I can do that easily when I get it all apart. Sure.
We should probably talk a little bit about what we found. When you came the first time, you brought 4 engines. And of that, we picked out one of the 2 full engines was a candidate. 2 of the blocks were no good.
Yeah.
There is another one that is okay. It happens to be a later series block. It had packing in the rear main, so it's a little different drainage system. But I don't think it would be impossible to retrofit it back to the standard Model A seal. But it has a removable plate on the backside. 3 crankshafts were good, and 2 of the 4 camshafts. Well, one didn't have a camshaft. One was just a bare block.
Yeah.
So we were batting a little less than 50% as far as rebuildable engines. And usually we find that when people bring us engines, about 1 out of 3 is rebuildable.
Yeah.
So
okay, great.
there's a reason why they were pulled out of the car and they were set alongside the granary for years.
Exactly.
Good. Dave, I saw when you were running this up, you talked about Dyno putting basically a load on the engine. What were you adjusting over here?
This-
So can you show me?
This is, on the dyno, this adjusts the water flow.
Okay.
And the more water you put to the water break, the greater the flow that you allow to go into it, the more load it puts on the engine. So what I was doing is, this is closed. That would exert virtually very little load on it, just the residual water that's in the case. And then if you increase that to full open, it loads the engine very heavily.
And what was on the other side over here that you were adjusting?
Oh, that is the throttle. That's connected to. Every time I move this, the throttle advances on the carburetor.
Got it. Okay.
And of course, we have our high-tech device for holding it at full advance. It's a weight over the corner of the engine that just keeps it from the vibration from backing the timing off. So that's our high-tech device here that does that.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Now we put on a new clutch as well, new flywheel. You
Yes,
mentioned
this has a lightened Model A flywheel and a later series V8 clutch and a new clutch disc and of course the center bearing, pilot bearing.
Next stage is what? Getting it on the car? Get it on the trailer?
Yep, we'll pull off the components here and then we'll take my parts off, the starter and other things, and then it's ready to go.
Well, Dave, thanks a lot for showing us this, and looks like did a great job on the motor. I can't wait to see it in the car.
Yeah, I hope it provides you many miles of,
it will.
of good use. It'll be a lot of fun.
How many miles can you expect out of a rebuilt engine normally?
You know, yeah, on my Phaeton, I have 98,000 miles on that.
You can't ask for more than that.
Never had the pan off. So you know, I think, you know, reasonably, I do have an oil filter on that, so I think that probably provides additional. You should get 50, 60,000 miles if you don't put a filter on it, if you change your oil regularly.
Yeah. And what oil should I use?
Use a 10W30.
Okay. Yep.
And then maybe once you get past 40, you could switch to a 15, you know, a 1540.
Okay. A little bit heavier.
A little heavy, 1545, something like that.
Great.
You'll if you ever see a little drip coming out of the back of the engine, you know, 40,000 miles from now, 30,000 miles from now, then just at that point do the switch. Otherwise, keep it the 10W30. Yeah, and that's a good oil for it. And also detergent. Right now, all the internals in the engine are clean, so I would suggest running a detergent oil.
Okay.
And then just change your oil a little more often.
How often do you want to change oil on one of these?
You know, I would change it every 1,000 miles, and definitely at the end of the season before you put it away for the winter.
Okay. Not in the spring. At the end.
We want clean oil in it over the winter, because if there's any acids or any moisture in there, you don't want that in your oil.
Okay.
You know, the engine sitting static with that moisture in that oil.
Good.
So, yeah,
Great.
always in the fall before you put it away.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Super good.
Okay, what I do when I check the torque, because it's close up to 55 pounds already, and it's been sitting for a little while, so there's going to be a little bit of stickiness between the nut and the head itself.
Okay.
So what I always do is you start in the center and you work your way out when you do the torquing. What I always do is I just back it off just enough where I can feel it move.
Okay.
And then I immediately come back and go to 55, and it looks like we're pretty close there. Yeah, we're there.
Okay.
Again, back it off and come up to 55.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, did you hear that one?
I did.
That one,
Yeah.
that's
The
that's,
click.
That's the sticking.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And
So I know
especially if you're waiting, you know, if you over winter,
Yeah.
when you do that, you'll definitely hear that click.
Oh, okay.
And that's all you have to hear is when you hear that, you're good. So this is what I used as a build sheet.
Okay.
And
Great.
then this was
Yeah.
the final.
Okay.
Kind of the
Good. Well, thank you.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
Nice to have that. Yeah. Great. Great.
Save all my lumber scraps.
There you go. Love it. Yeah. Great. So that like 400 pounds?
Yeah, about a little short of that.
Should we go?
I think we should. I think we're ready. Dave, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you
We'll
and
keep
your
in touch.
family. Good.
Yeah, great.
Let's
Yeah.
cruise together
We
sometime.
will. Let's do it. It's so fun. We love it. Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Noel.
Are you sad when you see him go away?
Always.
So Tim, we're headed home. What do you think?
Well, it's a good day. I'm very happy to get the engine back. It was fun working with Dave on doing this engine rebuild, and he's just a very thorough person, a lot of detail in how he does his work, and it gives you a great deal of confidence that the engine's going to work out well over the long term. So I'm very excited. It was a great day to be together with my grandson and my son-in-law, and just to enjoy a beautiful spring day and very fun activity that we can do together.
Well, we're gonna go get this motor hauled back to the cabin and start combining it eventually with all these drivetrain parts and chassis parts that you finished up.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we'll have another video for you fairly soon to show you some of the work Tim's been doing on the chassis and brake components and drivetrain parts and stuff like that. A lot of cleanup, a lot of just cleaning up old grease and dirt and
Little rust.
cleaning up some rust and then repainting that stuff. It's all coming together really nice. As always, thanks for watching. Please help us out by liking the video. Share it with somebody you think might enjoy this project, and if it helps, we're organizing all these car restoration videos in one playlist. So if you go to our main channel page, quick link to that is just go to picturetimetv.com. That'll take you to our main channel. Right down at the bottom, there's a playlist that'll show our Model A rebuild in there, and you can watch all the episodes if you're just joining us. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.